Hey guys, welcome to the Learn with Sandra Show channel. I'm Alexandra, and in this space we are all about solving exam questions mostly for English language and applying what we've learned to our everyday communication. So it's good to have you join us today. So guys, what do we have for today? Today we are solving the English Post-UTME past question 4, Delta State University, Abraka, and we are solving just 20 questions. So let's get right into it. So guys, question 1 to 3 are questions under idiomatic expressions, and these are expressions or phrases or group of words whose meaning are different from the individual words. Okay, we can also say it's an expression with a hidden meaning or a non-literal meaning. Now, what does this mean? When you look at the individual words making up the phrase or the expression, you see that it does not relate to the meaning in any way. Okay, there's no logical reason as to why it has this particular meaning. Do you get? So let's take a look at question 1. She is very light-fingered. The idiom is light-fingered, and this means to steal or likely to take things. But when you look at the individual words, light-fingered, you don't think of to steal, right? You don't think of stealing, do you? You don't. So that's to tell you that the individual words do not make up the meaning of the idiomatic expression. So it can be very challenging. Okay, so the best answer to this question is X. She's apt to take things, means she's likely to take things. Okay, so the best answer is X. Question 2. The teacher turned a blind eye to the lateness of Mary. Okay, so the idiomatic expression here is turned a blind eye, and it means to deliberately ignore. Okay, so let's take a look at the options. W, it did not notice it. X, it disapproved of it. Y, it did not bother about it. Z, it was unable to detect it. The answer to this question, the best is Y, right? It did not bother about it. Okay, to deliberately ignore would imply you're not concerned or bothered about it. Okay, so Y is the best answer to this question. Question 3. The dispute has come to a head. Now, there's something about idiomatic expression that I would like to share with you. Now, some scholars and critics have argued that some idiomatic expressions can be interpreted because of the figurative element embedded in them. Now, when we say figurative element, I mean figurative language, right? Such as simile, metaphor, and personification. These three especially, right? Because these are, figurative languages that rely on comparison. Okay, now because of these elements in them, we can use our imagination and interpret some of these idiomatic expression. And this is an example. This question come to a head because when we think of this phrase, we think of the head of the family, we think of the most important person or member, we think of the most important basically, right? And that is what this idiomatic expression means. Okay, it means the most important, the crucial part, the crucial stage, right? And that makes option X the answer to this question. Now, another example I would like to give is hold your horses. Imagine someone telling me hold your horses. Now, because I know that horses are restless animals, horses can be very anxious, especially when you restrain them, right? I am able to imagine this and understand that, oh, this person is telling me to be calm, to be patient, to wait, right? And that is what this idiom means, okay? So you can understand it by looking at individual words. So consider this as a tip, okay? But emphasis on some, not all, okay? Some, okay? So the best answer to this question is definitely X. You should learn to live within your measurements. Now, the instruction says we should look for a word nearest in meaning. So we're looking at synonyms. Now, measure means small in quantity. Okay, so we can't say plenty because plenty means a lot. We can't say surplus because surplus means, more. We can't say immense because it means very large. So the best answer is inadequate. Inadequate means lacking in quantity or quality. So Y is the best answer to this question. Question 5. Soyinka's play will not be ephemeral. Now this question is under synonyms nearest in meaning. Okay, so ephemeral means short period of time. Okay, so we can't say multicolored because it's not related. Short-lived is the answer to this question. We can't say built-in is not related. We can't say long-lived because this is opposite in meaning, right? We are looking for synonyms. So ephemeral means short period of time, and a word synonymous to that is short-lived. Okay, so the best answer is definitely X. Question 6. Now question 6 is under antonyms. Okay, opposite in meaning, right? We were defeated, but our junior team was dash. Defeated is to overcome. Now, vicarious. Vicarious is to experience something indirectly. Say, for example, your friend comes to you and shares the news about, oh, I have gotten admission into the University of Lagos. And just by hearing the person or watching the person's excitement, you're also excited and happy, right? You are having a vicarious experience. Okay, so it basically means experiencing something at second hand just by someone else's action, feelings, or whatever, or experience, right? So that is vicarious. When we say protected, protected is to shield from danger. When we say pummeled, pummeled is to strike, usually with your fist. Okay, pummeled at the door, pummeled is chest, pummeled the pillow, right? When we say victorious, victorious is to win. So this is the answer to this question because defeated means overcome, right? Victorious means winning, right? So the best answer is Z. Question 7. Okay, so this is still under antonyms. Okay, Mr. Omani made a lot of profits today, unlike the dash of yesterday. Now, the word is profit, and when we think of profit, we think of, gaining money. We think of earnings. Okay, when we say purchase, purchase is to get something, to acquire something. When we think of share, we think of a part of a large amount that is divided or distributed among a number of people. When we think of loss, loss is, losing something, right? Or we can say the decline in the amount of something. When we say gross, gross as a noun means, 12 dozens, right? And that is 144. It can also mean your earnings before the deduction of tax. Now, it can also be used to describe an unpleasant thing or repulsive thing, right? Oh, that's so gross, right? So the answer to this question is definitely Y, loss, okay? Because we are looking at antonyms, profit, loss. Okay, Theo usually labels when talking, but Amaka, she speaks dash. Now, to label when talking expresses difficulty in speaking, and the opposite of that will be fluently. Okay, so the best answer to this question is W. Question 9. Now, question 9 is under vowel sounds, and there are two types of vowel sounds. We have the monophthong and the diphthong. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is identify the sound represented by the letters on the line. Now, in the word see, EA is on the line, and it's a long vowel sound. So let's go to the options. We have W. The word here is sit, S, E, and T. The vowel sound there is short, E. Okay, it's not the long one. So we go to option X. We have realm. How do we transcribe? R, E, and M. So the vowel sound here is E, but we are looking for E. Okay. The next is Y. So we have peace. We have P, E, and S. So the vowel sound here is long. Okay, so this is the answer to the question. So option Z, we have reach. How do we transcribe R, E, and Ch? Okay, so the vowel sound here is short. Okay, so the best answer to this question is Y. Now, some people have asked me, oh, how do I learn to transcribe? Okay, I'll try as much as possible to break it down to you whenever we have questions on the sounds, but you have to follow me closely, and practice makes perfect. So you need to practice on your own. And to practice, I'll advise you start with the letters of the English alphabet. Start transcribing the letters of the English alphabet. There are 26, right? How do you pronounce this letter? A. How do you transcribe? A. How do you pronounce this letter? B. How do you transcribe? B and E. How do you pronounce this letter? C. How do you transcribe? S and E. So transcribe the letters of the English alphabet, then transition to two-letter words, then transition to 3, then 4, and you progress like that. Okay. Question 10. So the word is set. So we have S, E, and T. Okay. So we are looking for E sound. So option W, we have remain. Okay. How do we transcribe this? R, E, M, A, and N. So whenever you see E and E together, it's a diphthong. Do not separate it. Do not consider it as a monophthong, right? It's a diphthong. So this is not the answer to this question. Okay. Option X, we have C's. So we have S, E, and Z. Okay. So this is not the answer. So option Y, we have net. How do we transcribe N, E, and T? So we have the S sound in net. So this is the answer to this question. Option Z, we have pretty. Okay. So we have P, I, t, I. So we don't have air in this sound, okay? So the answer to this question is definitely Y. Question 11. So this question is on that vowel sound. So the letter on the line is A and it is pronounced as R, pass. Okay, it's a long vowel sound. Now let's go to the option. So W, we have plat. Okay, so the word is pronounced plat and it is the short sound here. It's not the same. X is marry. It is the short R sound. Okay, A, R, and E. Okay, so how do we transcribe rash? R, A, and sh. It is the short sound here. But then Z is the answer to this question because it is transcribed P, R, and T, part. Okay, so let me give you a bonus. Okay, when you have glass, class, grass, surpass. Okay, these words have long vowel sound R, but mass, even ass, it is a short R sound. Okay, please note this. Okay, so the best answer to this question is Z. Question 12 to 17 are questions that test your word usage or lexical choices, right, or what we call contextual appropriateness, right, and this stresses the fact that no two words are actually the same. Okay, no two words are inherently the same. Okay, based on context they are different, and so this question wants to test how well you know the difference. Okay, so let's take a look at question 12. The dash of the food filled the whole compound. Now if you take a look at the options, these are options that you are conversant with. They all relate to smell, right, but they are different. So let's take a look at option X, fragrance. When we think of fragrance, we think of flowers. So if it smells like flowers or nature, then we think of fragrance. Option X, scent. When we think of scent, we think of sense of smell. If it is a smell that your nose can detect, then it is scent. Okay? When we think of aroma, we think of food. Right? If it makes you hungry, then it's aroma. We think of appetite when we think of aroma. When we speak of perfume, it is personal. So if it is worn on the body, then it's perfume. Okay? So the answer to this question is why aroma. Okay? Because in the context, we see food. Okay, so why is the best answer to this question? So guys, let's do a quick test. Fresh bread. Aroma. That's right. Okay, the dog is sniffing a tail. Scent. That's right. It smells like roses. Fragrance. That's right. She's wearing Chanel number 5. Perfume. Okay, good job guys. So the answer to this question is why. Question 13. It was caught distributing political dash. Now, when you take a look at the options, they all relate to print materials or digital materials for communicative or to provide information. They look the same, but they are different based on context. Now, this is a quick hack, guys. When you think of brochures, you think of business for advertising or for marketing. When you think of circulars, think of company or community, for internal notice or announcements. Now, when you think of bulletins, you think of brief, for brief official news or updates. Now, when you think of pamphlets, you think of the public, right? You think of, educating the public or awareness campaign. So based on this memory hack that I've given, what is the answer? The best answer is pamphlet, right? Pamphlets are used or are common for political awareness, to inform the public about the political party and to most likely influence their opinion, right? So the best answer to this question is Z, pamphlet. Question 14. She dashed her spoon in the soup and tasted it. Now, if you take a look at the options, you see all 4 relate to putting something into another thing or below the surface, right? So when we say inserted is a precise placement. It's a deliberate action or a mechanical action, right? For example, she inserted the key into the lock. Okay, when we say sank, it is the past tense of sink, and for sank, it goes down into the water, right? When we say buried, it means to cover or to hide, right? When we say dipped, it's quick in and out. So based on this explanation, the best answer is definitely option Z, dipped, because in the context we see a spoon in the soup and tasted it. Okay, so it's a quick in and out. So the best answer to this question is definitely Z. Question 15. When rescued from the sea, he was dashed with cold. Right? Now, looking at all four options, they all relate to shaking or vibrating the body parts or an object. Now, can we tell the difference? Let's find out. Okay, so when we say shivering, the key trigger is cold or illness. When we say quaking, the key trigger is fear or earthquake. When we say trembling, the key trigger is nervousness, weakness, or fear. When we say quivering, the key trigger is, emotions, emotional outbursts like anger, crying, excitement. Okay, so based on context, we see that the best answer is W, shivering, because in the context we see cold. Okay, so the best answer to this question is W. Question 16. Efficiently, capably, proficiently, and coherently are words that are used to describe how someone performs a task. Now, these words are different based on context. Let's find out how, right? Efficiently, the key focus is speed, fast, and resourcefulness. For capably, the key focus is competence and ability. For proficiently, the key focus is skill and expertise. Now, for coherently, the key focus is logical and clear. Now, let's go back to the question or the context. He was so angry he couldn't talk dash. For someone who is angry, he wouldn't be able to make clear and logical statements. So the best answer to this question is coherently. Question 17. He delighted them with his dash supply of stories. Now, if you take a look at the options, you see that all four options describe something that is large, long, or endless. Okay, but let's take a look at the difference. Now, when we say interminable, we think of time, something that is endless and boring. Inexhaustible, we think of energy, something that never runs out. When we say immeasurable, we think of, size, too vast to measure, right? When we think of illimitable, we think of space, without limits, boundless, infinite, right? So the best answer to this question is X, inexhaustible. Inexhaustible means never runs out, and we can see in the context supply of stories, never running out. Okay, so the best answer to this question is definitely X. Question 18. He came, dashed the room, and sat down. Now, if you take a look at the options, you see there are prepositions that describe direction, position, and movement. Now, option W, we see over. We think of over, we think of across. He jumped over the fence. Into, we think of from outside to inside, right? She walked into the room, right? When we think of around, we think of circle. We think of a circular path. She walked around the park. When we think of off, we think of away. He fell off the ladder. Okay, so the answer to this question is into. Okay, she came into the room and sat down. Do not forget, when we think of into, we think of from outside to inside or within, right? So the best answer is X. Question 19. John has been healed dash last Friday, right? If you take a look at the options, you see the options are time related preposition or conjunction, right? So when we say before, before is earlier than. When we say after, after is later than. When we say till, it is up to a point in time. When we say since is from then till now, from a time in the past till now. And that's what the context is all about. So the best answer to this question is option Z, since. Question 20. Will you please dash me your book? So we can easily eliminate supply and excuse, and we are left with lend and borrow. So today we are resolving the long-standing rivalry between lend and borrow. So when you see lend, think of give, because it is from the giver's perspective. Now when you see borrow, think of receive, because it is from the receiver's perspective. Now you might be wondering, how do I remember? Now here is a quick memory hack. The word borrow has letter R and the word receive has letter R. Now this is what you would do. In this sentence, replace the word lend with temporarily give and replace the word borrow with temporarily receive. Let's go. Will you please temporarily give me your book? Or will you please temporarily receive me your book? The former is clearer. Will you please temporarily give me your book? That is, will you please lend me your book? Okay, so here is a quick test. You have 7 seconds to answer these questions. Let's go. That's it, guys. Well done. Let me know how you performed in the comment section. So the answer to this question is definitely lend. Will you please lend me your book? Okay, guys, that's it for today. We've concluded today's tutorial. I'm sure you've learned something. Do not forget to engage, like, share, comment, subscribe till I see you in my next video. Bye.